Colin Kaepernick and James Damore are both out of work. Colin Kaepernick, as you know, is the NFL quarterback. He used to be for the 49ers, I think. I don't really follow football, and he seems to be very good, but he is no longer employed. James Damore, on the other hand, is a Google engineer, PhD from Harvard, just big brain, and he is no longer working for Google. Now, in both cases, it was because of what they said. See, Colin Kaepernick, famously last year, refused to salute the flag while playing the national anthem. He famously took a knee, as it were. James Damore penned the Google memo, which was a memo, a very well thought out memo, where he said basically outlined possible reasons why women are not represented in tech and possible solutions to that problem. And he was dismissed because of it. Colin Kaepernick apparently is not being hired by NFL teams because of his stance insofar as the national anthem. Both men lost their employment because of their speech. Now, there are a lot of people who say that free speech is absolute, but a company can hire whomever they want to and employ whomever they want to, and if you say something, you have to accept the consequences. They say this in the case of Damore, for instance, but then they have a cow when it comes to Kaepernick. Likewise, there are people on the right who said, you got your just desserts, Colin, for taking a knee while playing the national anthem, but then insofar as the Damore case, they freak out, right? I am a free speech absolutist. Now, what does this mean? I believe that every citizen of every democracy should be able to say anything that they please without fear of repercussion from anybody, okay? Because most of the time when people talk about free speech, they say freedom from interference from government. No. You see, there are other large and powerful institutions in our society, not just corporations, by the way, which is, I'm assuming that is what you're thinking, inferring from what I'm saying. But there are lots of different institutions that exert pressure. Universities, for instance, they exert enormous pressure on faculty, on students. A student says the wrong thing, he can get expelled. A professor says the wrong thing, he can get completely ostracized from his profession and ruined. As a free speech absolutist, I believe that a person should be able to say whatever it is that they want to say, free from fear. Because you see, if you're able to be fired because of your speech, then you don't have free speech. You have a version of free speech. Not even a version of free speech. What you have is the illusion of free speech. You have free speech in name only. You don't have the real thing. See? Because what is the notion of free speech? To be able to say anything without fear of consequences. Now, we usually associate these consequences with government, but we should associate them also with the loss of employment. I would think from this position, it is fair to fire an employee who says something while representing that particular company. For instance, suppose I serve burgers at McDonald's and somebody comes in, and suppose, just for the sake of argument, that I am anti-Latino. I'm Latino, but let's say that I'm anti-Latino, and some Latino person comes in and I say, I'm not going to serve you, that speech should be grounds for dismissal. Why? Because at the time, at that moment, I am representing the company insofar as this particular customer is concerned. The company has no interest in discriminating against a person because they happen to be Latino or any other ethnic group or any other person, right? If I were to say this, that express my personal opinion about Latino people, well, then I should be fired, because at that moment I am expressing I am wearing the uniform of my job, and I am, in a sense, representing my employer. However, in my free time, in my outside of work time, whatever I say should be my business, not my company's business. I'm not representing my company. if I say that I don't like Latinos while I'm outside of my job at McDonald's, that shouldn't be a problem for McDonald's. I hate Latinos, I hate Latinos. Do you see me wearing the McDonald's uniform? No? Then it's my problem. Now, in the case of Colin Kaepernick, he took a knee at the start of a game. One could argue and question whether he is representing the 49ers at that moment, when he took a knee right before the start of a game. Wiser people than me will have to answer that question. Same with Damore. But this notion that companies can police people's speech outside of working hours, when they are not representing the company, they are simply an employee of the company who is on his free time. When I am on my free time, I am not an employee. I am not a slave to my employer. I'm on my free time, right? Why is it that it is okay for a company to police somebody's speech and fire them if they say the wrong thing? Because then the issue starts to become, what is the wrong thing and what is the right thing to say? Can I say this but not that? Can I be in favor of Mexicans but discriminate against white people? Is that okay? I don't know. Help me. What? Are we slaves to companies? This argument is the exact same argument that people had when government was regulating speech. It's a conversation we don't want to have. We don't want companies to be deciding what is acceptable speech and what is unacceptable speech. We want each individual to be able to say what they please and not be fearful, because that's the ultimate point of free speech. You don't want to be afraid. You want to be able to say whatever you want to, speak your mind, no matter how unorthodox or heterodox or just simply against the grain that speech may be. And maybe it is speech that most people dislike. Say, for the sake of argument, that I believe that the earth is flat. And I go around espousing this idea. I think it's a stupid idea, but let's suppose that I do this, right? Should a company fire me because of that speech? Because they don't agree with it? What if I say something more controversial? What speech are they going to police? If I say this, am I going to be okay? Or if I say that, am I going to be fired? Where's the line of what's acceptable and unacceptable? What happens if a company starts to say, we're going to fire anybody who says Republican thoughts or Democratic thoughts? How fair is that? It's completely unfair. We cannot be allowing companies to police speech. We should go out of our way to make sure that they don't do it, because we want a people who live without fear, who can say what they think without fear, because that is the point of free speech.